eat some pizza. There you go.
Nelly the elephant packed her trunk and said goodbye to the circus. Off she went with a trumpety trump, 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 trump.
Hi,
Hello,
I'm Nige,
I'm Sarah.
and today we're filming our first journey to Whitby in Nelly. It's for a series called Journeys in Nelly, where we'll take you to all the places that we like to go in our fancy car. So Whitby's an interesting place. I've been going there since I was a kid, when we lived up north in Teesside, and most people from up that way do actually. But Sarah, you've always lived in Scarborough. What do you think about Whitby?
I think it's really pretty. The view when you come over the bridge into Whitby, I mean, we're coming in a different way today, but you get this view right across the bay, and it looks like it hasn't changed in sort of millennia. It looks like the quintessential old fishing village, even though it's all built up. But there's so much history there. I mean, we did the ghost walk before as well, and there was so much that I learned on the ghost walk that we did that I never knew. There's the Abbey steps, and all the lore around Dracula. That's partly why they have the Whitby Goth weekend there. It's bohemian in a lot of ways, but it's very traditional in a lot of ways. It's a really, really strange mix of the two.
So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And yet, when I was a kid, it was like visiting an elderly relative. You were very fond of them, but they were a bit broken down, and but they had some good stories to tell. They always felt nowadays like when you leave, they're trying to pick your pocket because it's become a bit more commercialised.
Yeah, they've had the Endeavour there, haven't they? Which
that was great.
Was
the
huge
HMS Bark
for the
Endeavour.
town. Yeah, that was incredible.
And that was the four-master that Cook sailed to Australia on, a replica of it, wasn't it?
I thought it was the original ship.
No, it was a replica sailed from Australia, and it did a tour of the world, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I could be wrong. You can tell us in the comments.
Yeah, right. I thought it was the real deal, but
I'm usually wrong.
I mean, you've got things like even the museum at Pannet Park, which you would
amazing.
never think of going to, but we did. And the Natural History Museum, the casts that they have of the dinosaurs in the Natural History Museum were taken from the actual dinosaurs in Whitby Museum.
It's crazy.
And it's like they've got the only hand of glory left in the world in this museum in a case, and it's full of crazy stuff that you would never expect to see in a museum that cost you, was it what, £4 to go in or something ridiculous? It was crazy, but there was something around every corner that you just weren't expecting.
And I'm not really into museums, but seriously,
but that was great.
I'm so impressed. It's fantastic. It's like a museum of a museum.
Yeah,
That's what made
it feels like an eccentric grandma's living room, but with actually really interesting stuff in it.
So we're just rising up out of Cloughton now. Mm-hmm. Cloughton's a village on the outskirts of Scarborough, and there's a little crawler lane and a bit of a hill, so all these cars can get past me. No, there isn't any.
Yeah, this time of year is not too bad. Summertime is horrendous.
And Nelly does like this bit of road.
Yeah. Likes a bit of a twist and a turn. It's not the best road if you get a bit car sick, to be honest. It's quite bendy, and there's some hairpins along the way which have taken out quite a few bikers, unfortunately.
So where are we staying tonight then, sir?
We're staying at the Youth Hostel Association.
Is that because we're on holiday on a budget?
Yeah.
We are.
But actually we've stayed there before, and it's perfectly comfortable. The shower was great. We've got an ensuite room for like 35 quid. With breakfast, it's 55 quid.
Yeah.
This
is at Whitby Abbey. This is actually the site of Whitby Abbey.
Yeah. Which you're looking out over Whitby Abbey.
It's crazy. It's not always that cheap, I gotta say.
No, it's not. But if you're going out of season, it is though.
Yeah, and if you pick we're going on a Sunday because you're off tomorrow and I haven't got any work on.
Yeah, true.
So it's ideal for us.
And there's a fabulous little microbrewery just opposite as well, where they do stone baked pizzas and
Culture Vulture.
Cheapest pub in Whitby.
It is.
But it's all home brewed beers and stuff, so yeah, it's all good. I'll probably be having a bag of chips on the beach though as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to go wandering, aren't we?
Yeah.
See that polar bear on top of is it Holland and Barrett? That I never knew.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't
Well,
it?
yeah, because I always just thought it was a
So
random...
there's a great big massive fiberglass polar bear randomly on top of a
shop.
sweet shop, yeah.
It's not a sweet shop, it's a health shop.
It used to be Maynard's, didn't it?
And I always thought it was just a random piece of tap that they'd put up there and forgotten about one Christmas. And turns out it's actually because, well, I know, but man on. It turns out it was because one of the captains of the ships owned a house up near Panet Park where the museum is, and he kept a polar bear in his garden, in the front garden that he brought back from his travels.
No, the people of Whitby are
Rather him than me.
They're unusual. No, they're different.
But that's why
I
the
like
buildings
them.
are so incredible.
We all like them, but there's a right way, a wrong way, and a Whitby way. That's what they're saying, and it's really true.
But even the houses, they all have, a lot of them have one massive central window going from the bottom of the house to the top of the house, and it's because they were taxed on how many windows they had.
Call them bottle windows,
yeah,
don't they?
bottle windows, and they just have this one huge window going from the top to the bottom, because then they were only taxed on having one window on one side of the house. So it's eclectic is the word I'd use, and they have the most amazing bookshop. That's kind of my nirvana. I'm a bit of a geek. Oh, alpacas.
Alpacas.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know they had alpacas up there.
I think we'll have some driving shots now.
Yeah.
See you in a bit.
I'll show off.
Outskirts of Whitby. That's the dead centre of Whitby on the left.
Terrible.
And there, in the distance, is where we're staying tonight. Whitby Abbey. Oh, next to Whitby Abbey. I wonder when they're going to finish it.
They've done a big, what's that, Tony What's-a-Doodle? The archaeology bloke.
In with the head?
No, the archaeology bloke.
Baldrick.
Yeah, Baldrick. He'd done a big
Sorry,
sculpture. Yeah, my bad. But he'd done a big sculpture, hadn't he? In the grounds of the Abbey, like a big tree of life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's still there, but because it was done actually in the ground.
Niges. Look at the registration. How cool is that?
Look at the Nige.
Oh, we're going to have to clone those, aren't we?
Yeah. And
Bus parked Elrod Drive. How dare you?
yeah, we actually get to drive right through because of where we're staying.
Meanwhile,
And unless someone's spoiled everything, This is the toilet. Oh, she spoiled it. Hang on, I can get this open. Oh, she remembers. That's her problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you get for 45 British pounds at a youth hostel. Sleeps 4. Perfectly adequate, nice and warm, and a wonderful view of the car. When I was a kid, my mum and dad said that Dracula was buried here and made us look for his grave. They were unusual, cruel people.
Years later.
That's the roughest barmaid I've ever seen.
Yeah, I just want to, if you want your drinks, you don't want to eat, or you want to post it.
I promised to take her out for dinner. I know how to treat a girl. She's worth it, to be fair.
No?
He's dropped him.
There is no end to his generosity.
Hey,
I
that
now
was
have a
50
pound's
pence
worth of
there.
2p's.
I
How's
expect
it
a profit.
50p, you tight ass?
Look, the 2 pence machines are over here, Corey section.
God's sake.
That's where you belong. Now come and analyse the dishes.
Analyse
What are you
it.
doing? You can't do that, it's not
Shall we play the
scientific.
game?
Seriously. Anyone will tell you that's more likely to go. Look, that one there.
Oh,
See? Hanging off
well, I
already.
don't want a load more 2p's.
You're missing the point.
Oh,
You're
what
supposed to
am I
win money for me.
2p's.
Come on, you're supposed to be buying tea.
Look, see, you've got me on that one and it's knackered. And 50p.
Hey, it's just like Las Vegas in here.
50p and 2p's, you tight ass.
That's what happens when you buy your one drink.
And spent 50p on 2p's on an arcade.
Yeah, well, you know, it's
Hey.
a big hitter, but it is Sunday. So next, we're going to do something a bit more cultural, which is we're going to walk along the pier. So that was an interesting weekend out in Whitby in North Yorkshire. I thought it'd be good to look at what it costs to take a car on a little trip like that, and some other costs as well for anyone who's interested in coming to God's own country and seeing the best parts of it. So we did about 60 miles in total. We travelled from Scarborough all the way up to Whitby, and then on the next day we travelled from Whitby across to Pickering and then back to Scarborough. So it's a nice little triangle, some great roads, lovely scenery, and not too demanding. It's about 60 miles, as I say. We averaged 14 miles to the gallon, did about 29-30 miles an hour on average as well. So I reckon we used about 19 litres of petrol at 1.59 a litre. That works out at just about 30 quid. So it's an awful lot cheaper than the bus, just for one of us. It's not as expensive as you might think to drive one of these cars if you drive sensibly. If you don't, then the sky's the limit. And when we got to Whitby, we stayed, of course, at the Youth Hostel Association, which is right up on the cliff where the Abbey is. So you're right next door to the Abbey. There's nothing else up there, just the Youth Hostel and the Abbey. You've got fantastic views of Whitby, and it feels really historic. You can almost feel history seeping through the floors. Yeah, it's wonderful. And that was £35 for a room that sleeps 4 people with an ensuite bathroom, and it's a wet room at that, so it was really, really good. Breakfast was a tenner each. We had pizzas on Sunday night and beer, and the whole lot came to about 135 quid for a night away and 2 lovely days out, which is, in my opinion, it's excellent. So when you think about 14 miles to the gallon average, probably make most people's stomachs turn and the bottoms clench up, but actually in reality it's not all that bad if you're going on a special trip. I suppose if you're just using a car as a daily, it's maybe not the best fuel mileage in the world, but if it's for special trips, you will pay more for a special trip, I'm sure. Okay, so as I said, the roads to Whitby are a mixture. They're kind of twisty, there's lots of steep hills, they're quite narrow roads, you'll come up against tractors and things like that, but you've got this amazing view. On the right hand side of you, you've got the North Sea, which on the day we were there was kind of blue, very attractive. On the left you've got all the farmland, so lots of sheep and cows and farmers and everything else. It's just beautiful. It's all creatures great and small country, basically. If you've seen that series, that's where we were. But it's also really good to see how a car would react on that sort of road, and I've got to tell you, with all the twists and turns and uneven roads and everything else, the Bentley was amazing. The gearbox was fantastic, so sliding down into a hairpin bend in one section, she changes down gear really well. She anticipates what you're going to need to do. I'm really impressed with it. I know a lot of people say, well, they're not fast enough, it takes ages for it to change gear and things like that. I'm not one of those drivers, guys. I know you can, I think you can flash your gearbox in order to get it to behave more like a super sport. That isn't for me. I like to have an enjoyable drive. I don't drive slowly, I don't drive quickly, but I like to have a nice smooth driving line, and it's just relaxing. If I want to go faster, I'll put it in sports, but hey, maybe not from now on. I'll tell you a reason why later. So yeah, it's a really good road. It's a perfect car for it, and I had no problems at all. One thing I did notice actually, that by the Monday when we set off to Pickering, was that the engine note was better. She felt smoother, and she was okay, but it just felt more powerful and smooth. And I think one of the flaps on my left-hand rear back box had been stuck open. Well, that seemed to sort itself out as well. So it wasn't as loud as it had been either, which is nice. You can relax with it. You're not constantly thinking. I used to have a 911 and the thumping and droning of that it just spoilt it unless you were actually going for it all the time. This is a different kettle of fish. It can be both things. It's got a foot in each pond. Yeah, so that was great. Not an economical car by any means, but a wonderful transport, cheaper than the bus, and a great feeling. And people do look at her. She's a 20-year-old car, and the number of kids will stop and point, and the parents will go, oh wow, and they just have such presence. So it feels really nice to do it as well. I recently downloaded an app for my work van. It's called Zego Sense. I'm not making any recommendations to anybody else, by the way. I'm not getting paid for this. But to get my insurance cheaper on the van, I downloaded this app and it monitors your driving. And I used to think I was a good driver until someone was watching me all the time. And now I am an even better driver, actually. But one of the things it's pulled me up on is cornering too quickly. And I think actually that's because of this trip in the Bentley. Because you can corner more quickly in this than you would expect. It doesn't feel like you are. It's not a white knuckle ride or anything like that. But you just don't have to use your brakes as much. It's a much more smooth experience. And I grew up in the motor trade, learning how to test drive cars to really show off all of their best best points and cover up anything that wasn't so good about them by being able to anticipate the road conditions, the kind of car I was and everything else. So I pretty much drive like a limo driver stroke taxi driver everywhere. And so the app's pulled me up on that. But apart from that, I don't speed, I don't brake too fast, and I don't accelerate too fast. So I've got a really high score on the app so far. If it's something you can download and actually just use for your own information and turn off, then I would recommend you check it out. It's called Zigo Sense. If it's going to affect your insurance, then you might want to think about it. If you're someone who likes to take a few more risks, it's probably not for you. But for me, it's just slowed me down. It's made me much more conscious of the speed I'm doing and how reactive I am to the road ahead. So actually, it's a really positive thing. And it's probably the reason why I only spent 30 quid on petrol. So thanks, Zigo. So that wraps this up. The first ever Nelly Goes Driving episode. Let me know if you like it. If you're not a member, then please consider supporting the channel with a membership. Starts at 99p, but if you want feedback and help on problems with your car, it's only $2.99, and I'll give you priority help. I always try and help everybody, but I'll get back to you first, basically. And I'll do a lot more digging for people who support me than I would for people who don't. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. So thank you very much. As ever, happy motoring. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and maybe write a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. If you don't want to see any more, I don't blame you. I'll probably continue to do them anyway because I enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. Happy motoring.